A quick update from Cambridge, Ontario. Today's Wednesday. What is it? March 17th, 16th, something like that. So I spent 4 nights at a hotel, taking care of my truck. So the first thing I had to do was do the DOT inspection. So I drove to Woodstock and spent 5 hours at the TA, and they still couldn't do it. So I left. I went to the nearby Peterbilt dealer in Woodstock, Ontario, which is also authorized facility, because I cannot just go to any shop. It has to be, trained and authorized and certified by Landstar. So they did a 120-day DOT inspection on the truck and trailer on my step, and I passed it with flying colors, no problems found, so which is good. And then I brought the truck back here, and there's a shop, which is, pretty cheap shop. I didn't want to go back to Toramont Cat, because those guys are like 110, what is it, 115 bucks an hour. But I wanted to do a thorough testing, for because I do have these intermittent problems with horsepower and fuel economy. And and while I was over there at the TA, they did change the fuel filters, because now I want to change them every 7,500 miles. Like I do oil change 15,000 miles, and then 7,500 miles after I do a grease. And I asked these guys to grease the truck and trailer and change the filters and do the DOT inspection, and all they managed to squeeze in those 5 hours is change the 2 filters and grease the truck only. I said, what, you didn't even grease the trailer? They said no. The only mechanic available had to leave on a road call, right? And I heard the service manager say, "Oh, you're gonna make good money on that one, because road calls are expensive. So of course it doesn't make sense for them to spend the available manpower on doing the DOT inspection on a Landstar truck." And I actually complained about this. I sent an email to Landstar. I said, you got to remove these guys from the list of the approved providers, because it's unacceptable. 5 hours sitting there and they didn't do what I came there to do. But anyway, and then I came in here and went to a small shop here and gave him the truck and made a list with, I think, like 7 items I wanted him to check, like specifically check for water and fuel when the engine is running, add those hoses that I know had many of my viewers real unhappy. So now I have hoses. Okay, relax. Now I have like I think it's a 1.5 foot long hose attached to that air breather on each fuel tank. So now we're all safe. There's not going to be an explosion now, I'm pretty sure. And then but basically all these guys did was they checked for the fuel pressure, and turns out there's a connector on my fuel pump. So it's real easy for me to install a fuel pressure gauge, because I don't have that one. And that one is really important, because with the help of if you know what kind of readings you should expect, you can diagnose lots of problems with your fuel pump. And this guy said we could not connect that glass thing to your fuel hoses, because you have special connectors. But he says if you had air in your fuel, I would see fuel pressure fluctuate. So they hooked up their laptop, they hooked up their manual gauge right to that connector in the engine, and then they ran a big wire, and they went on a ride. They took it on the highway, and they were watching the fuel pressure, not just when the engine was idling, but driving on the highway. And the guy says, you have an excellent truck. He says 80 psi of pressure, and you have excellent boost. He says even with no trailer he was able to get like 44 psi of boost. I said, whoa, you should see what this truck can do when I turn that knob to 10 on the power harness. So these guys were actually pretty impressed with the truck. They said, it's a great truck. And I said, well, at least you didn't find any air, so the fuel pressure is good, everything's good. Oh, and I said, then they cleaned up the air intake where the fuel filter is, where the air filter is. Like, again, that would be the 3rd time, because this gauge was still showing some restriction. And they also, I said, did you take that oil pan off the top of the engine and checked for any debris, or maybe if there's a filter there, if it's clogged? And they said, they opened it and they said everything's good and there's no filter in there. So it's just kind of oil evaporates, goes to the ground. But anyway, sorry for this rant, but you know, that's one basically aspect of being an owner operator, is that compared to the company driver, is that your obligations, your duties do not stop when the truck stops, right? Because you got to make sure that the truck is ready for the next run. And now I'm pretty positive, except I don't have much fuel left, which means that I would have to buy fuel in Canada. And speaking about fuel, I'm positive now that that intermittent power / fuel mileage problem was caused by bad fuel. And you ask any Canadian driver, and many of them would tell you that if you compare Canadian diesel and US diesel, US diesel is often has worse quality than Canadian diesel, especially in winter. And you can really get into trouble if you fuel somewhere down south and then you go into the northern part of Canada, because there's no additives in fuel. And plus the fuel itself, like I said, it can be of worse quality. So that's what can plug in the injectors and stuff like that. So that's why it's a good thing that I replaced the fuel filters. And now the truck feels great. I don't know what it's gonna feel like under load, because I already booked my next load. And I did not want to go far, right? I want to go to the truck show, and that starts on March 27th. So tomorrow, one thing left is I gotta just make sure that all my tires are, you know, at the correct pressure. And then I'm going to Barrie, Ontario, and I'm getting loaded with, I think it's like 65,000 pounds, you know, a heavy load, but it's all legal because I'll be going through Canada. And I'm going to a small town near Thunder Bay, Ontario. So it's basically, I was just there 2 weeks ago, but this time I checked the temperatures. You know, it's already starting warming up. It'll be around, like, you know, freezing, maybe like -1, -2 Celsius maximum. You know, like 30, 29 Fahrenheit. So should be good this time. And then I'll go to Thunder Bay, and there's like the border is like half an hour away. And I'll just, if there's no loads there, I'll just go into Wisconsin. You know, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and find a load from there back to Ontario. And I have not decided yet. Maybe I'll just go to Louisville in my car, make it kind of like a trip, you know, like a road trip, instead of getting another load and driving there. But because my plans for this, first of all, I want to do a slideshow, right? I'm going to take lots of pictures with my Nikon on the truck show, but also I want to buy that Spinner 2 additional oil filter, which greatly increases your oil change intervals and keeps your oil, you know, sparkling clean. So which helps the longevity, you know, prolong the longevity of the engine. That's number one. Spinner 2, because I know they're going to be there. Then I'm going to buy that FASS, F-A-S-S system that keeps your fuel clean, and you lose water and contaminants and air. That's that one. So Spinner, FASS, and there was something else I wanted to buy. Oh, and I want to get that Fleet Air, the new washable, reusable air filter, which is very easy to clean. I watched some videos online. You can just unsnap those layers of that filtering material, you know, and wash them kind of like, you don't have to carry the entire filter, which was the case with K&N filter. I used to have one, a washable K&N filter. And what's good about these, that they do add power because they let much more air through, you know, and the filtering is better. So and you buy only one filter, and then all you gotta do is just clean it. That's it, you know. So yeah, so filter, Fleet Air filter, Spinner 2, FASS, and I guess that's it. And maybe I'll see these guys that make the scan gauge. I'm pretty sure they're gonna be there to see if there's any more gauges available. So exciting times ahead. I really love that show. And hope some of you guys will make it over there, because that's the biggest truck show in Northern America. You know, I was there only once. I really liked it. So thanks for watching. Be safe.